There was a man who never lost an argument. Not once, not ever. And the reason had nothing to do with how smart he was. It had everything to do with what he chose never to say. If that hit you somewhere deep, stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you in the next 10 minutes might quietly change the way you move through the world forever. And I mean that. This isn't motivation fluff. This isn't a list of tips. This is a real, uncomfortable truth that most people will hear, nod at, and then completely ignore. And that's exactly why they keep losing. If you're new here and you want more stories like this one, hit that subscribe button right now and tap the bell so you never miss a drop. We go deep on this channel, real deep. And this one is gonna stay with you. So let's go back, way back, ancient Greece. A young man walks into the court of one of the most respected philosophers of his time. This kid is sharp, cocky, the kind of guy who walks into a room and immediately starts performing. He barely sits down before he starts talking, filling the air, demonstrating how much he knows. The philosopher listens, doesn't interrupt, just listens. When the young man finally stops, the philosopher looks at him quietly and says something that would echo through centuries. He says, "You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in that proportion." The young man laughs. He thinks it's a joke. He leaves feeling confident, feeling validated, feeling like he crushed that meeting. He didn't. He failed the only test that mattered. And here's the wild part. That test is still running, right now, today, and 99% of people are still failing it the exact same way. Now, I want you to really think about someone in your life, someone you genuinely respect, someone whose opinion carries weight with you. Picture them clearly. Got 'em? Now ask yourself honestly, are they the loudest person in the room? Are they the one who jumps in first, who talks over others, who always has a comeback ready? Or are they the one who waits, who listens so completely that when they finally do speak, everyone in the room gets quiet? Because that contrast right there, that's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. There's a concept in psychology called the Babble Effect, and it sounds almost too simple to be real, but the research behind it is devastating. Studies have shown repeatedly that people who talk more in group settings are automatically perceived as more competent and more authoritative by those around them, even when what they're saying is completely hollow, even when it's noise, just volume, just frequency, just the act of filling space with words. And here's the kicker. Here's where it gets dark. Because of this effect, the people who talk the most tend to rise faster in certain environments. They get promoted, they get attention, they get mistaken for leaders, while the quiet, brilliant people in the corner, the ones who actually understand the problem, they get passed over. They get labeled as disengaged. They get underestimated. And for a while, maybe a long while, it looks like the loudmouths are winning. But then, something shifts. And when it shifts hard. Think about every person you've ever met who talked constantly about what they were going to do, the business they were starting, the book they were writing, the body they were going to build, the relationship they were going to fix. They talked about it at dinner. They brought it up at parties. They posted about it online. They rehearsed their future so loudly, so publicly, that everyone around them could practically see it happening. And then it didn't happen. And then they talked about why it didn't happen. And then they started talking about the next thing. There's actual neuroscience behind this. When you verbalize a goal to another person and they respond positively, your brain registers a small hit of dopamine, a reward signal, the same signal it would release if you had actually achieved the goal. So in a very real, very physiological sense, talking about your goals tricks your brain into feeling like you've already accomplished them. It reduces the internal pressure that would otherwise push you to act. It literally steals your drive. The people who change their lives, they tend to go quiet right before it happens. Have you ever noticed that? The transformation comes from silence. The announcement comes after. But there's another layer to this, a darker social layer, and this is where it gets personal. Every time you speak without thinking,
Every time you fill silence with noise, just because silence makes you uncomfortable. Every time you volunteer information that wasn't asked for. Every time you correct someone in public to make yourself look smarter. Every time you tell your story when you should be listening to theirs, you are making a withdrawal from an invisible account, a trust account, a respect account, an account that takes years to build and can be emptied in a single conversation. Most people don't even know this account exists. They spend freely, carelessly, constantly, and then they wonder why people don't take them seriously. They wonder why their words don't carry weight. They wonder why when they finally say something important, nobody leans in. Here's a story, and this one I want you to sit with because it's the kind of story that sounds small, but it's actually enormous. There was a man named Dale. Not Dale Carnegie, though we'll get to him, a different Dale, an executive in a mid-sized company in the Midwest. Smart guy, hard-working, 20 years with the same firm. He had a reputation for being vocal in meetings, passionate, always had a perspective, always had an angle. And for most of his career, that served him reasonably well. Until it didn't. Until a new VP came in, a woman who ran meetings differently. She didn't go around the table asking everyone to speak. She watched, she asked pointed questions, and then she went silent. Real silent. The kind of silence that made people nervous. The kind of silence that pulled the truth out of people. And Dale, being Dale, rushed in every time to fill that silence, to offer his take, to demonstrate his value. The new VP noticed. She noticed that Dale talked the most and listened the least. She noticed that his answers were long on confidence and short on actual insight. She noticed that the quietest person in the room, a junior analyst named Marcus who rarely spoke, occasionally said things that cut straight to the core of the problem. Within 18 months, Marcus had been promoted twice. Dale was quietly moved sideways. He never fully understood why, but you do. You already know why, because you've seen it. Maybe you've been one of them. Maybe you've been both. Here's what the wisest people in history seem to understand at a level most of us never reach. Words are currency, and like all currency, their value is determined by scarcity. When you speak rarely and deliberately, your words become precious. People store them, people repeat them, people quote them years later. But when you speak constantly, when every thought gets voiced, when every opinion gets broadcast, your words become wallpaper, present everywhere, noticed by no one. Abraham Lincoln, one of the most effective communicators in American history, was famous for his silence in meetings. He would sit, listen to every person in the room, sometimes for hours, and when he finally spoke, it was brief, clear, and decisive. His cabinet called it unnerving at first. They didn't understand it. They thought he was disengaged, until they realized that every single word he spoke had been measured, tested, and chosen with surgical precision. That's not shyness, that's mastery. That's a man who understood that the power wasn't in the speaking. The power was in the choosing. The power was in the pause. Theodore Roosevelt, a man no one in history would describe as quiet, kept a personal rule. Before speaking in any high-stakes conversation, he would ask himself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Not 2 out of 3, all 3. And if an answer couldn't pass all 3 gates, it didn't come out. Think about how different your last week would have looked if you applied that filter. Think about the argument you got into that didn't need to happen, the correction you offered that wasn't asked for, the opinion you volunteered that cost you something. The 3-gate rule. Simple, almost embarrassingly simple, and yet try living it for 1 day, 1 full day, and watch how it rewires everything. Now, here's where I need to tell you something that might sting a little, because we've been talking about all the ways speaking too much costs you, socially, professionally, strategically, but there's one more cost that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the deepest one. When you are always talking, you are never truly listening. And when you are never truly listening, you are never truly learning. You're just recycling what you already know, just rearranging your existing beliefs into new sentences, just performing intelligence rather than building it. The people who know the most are not the people who speak the most. They're the people who ask the best questions and then stay quiet long enough to actually hear the answers. Every conversation is a potential download, a chance to receive information, perspective, context, wisdom that you don't currently have, but you can only receive it if you're not broadcasting. You cannot transmit and receive at the same time. That's not philosophy, that's physics. There's a technique used by some of the world's best negotiators, therapists, and interrogators. It's called strategic silence, and the mechanics of it are almost uncomfortably simple. When the other person finishes speaking, you don't respond immediately. You pause. You let the silence sit there in the room, heavy and present, and almost universally, the other person feels compelled to fill it. They add more. They clarify. They reveal something they hadn't planned to reveal. They sometimes walk back what they just said or contradict themselves.